Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with selections for Sunday, the 11th of June. Well, a quick recap on Saturday's performance. Well, we started off very disappointing. A lot of the horses early on during the races was, well, not early on during the races, early on during the early selections were quite unfortunate. Well, let's talk about the each-way doubles. Well, we had Lady Boo and Miss Woo Woo. Miss Woo Woo couldn't quite get a run at an important time, and Lady Boo, I think it came fifth, but it was only beaten out. I think it was a length from third place. I think it was 50-1 at the time. Don't get me wrong, the 8:30 at Chepstow didn't quite work out right. Quite disappointing in the end, really. I think Red Bravo I think he got fifth in the end. But anyway, so I think we had an okay return in the end because we had quite a good finish to the day. And we had a couple of horses that were really unlucky. Was it Freak Show, I think it was? And this is all off the top of my head, by the way. I think it was it Lady Fandango? Both absolutely flew at the finish after not getting clear runs. And some quite tasty prices. But I think we had about £18 back in the end, which is quite a surprise, really, to say how badly we started. But it was quite a high stake day, and it was a losing day, so it was disappointing. Well, you decide what you want to do today. I would advise probably having these bets, but the stake may be quite large, so I would reduce it by quite a lot because I haven't actually placed all the bets yet. But let me get into it. So this is the bet that I've placed so far. It's based on a number of trainers that are running into form, horses probably suited more for low numbers, and I think they've got little sneaks really. So let's get rid of the treble. So the first bet is a 50p each way treble. Well, that also included in this. So the three selections are, and this is in a 50p each way patent and 50p each way treble. So the first selection is Al Rufar at 8-1 in the 135 at Goodwood, paying 4 places instead of 3. The second selection is Dark Fandango at 16-1 in the 2 at Goodwood, paying 3 places instead of 2. That horse, interestingly, it was only about 7-2 for its debut at Bath on softish ground. Basically, the horse was slowly away, soon recovered, was keen, made a challenge, I think it was 2 out, and then faded. The fact there was a short price and they're still aiming quite high, I think they think a bit of this horse. So with 3 places available, I do think it could sneak a place, and I do think they think a lot more of it than what it's shown so far. So I think it's an interesting horse although it looks a bit bonkers, the fact that I chose it with some quite high-profile stables having runners in it. Probably the napper out of these 3 is Zane Knights at 8-1 in the 355 at Goodwood, paying 3 places instead of 2. I've been scouting the cars quite a while now, so I'm doing all this from memory, but I do believe it's Harry and Roger Charlton's horse. They are gradually hitting form now, and I do think it will like the going. It's favourably drawn, and I do think that I do believe this horse likes to go to the front, and I think it could make all. So let's get on to the bet that I haven't placed yet. So I've gone to Beverley now. The first race, I could have picked about 8 horses out of it, I'll be honest. The top rated for flat stats was the horse called, I think, is it called Show Me, or Show Me? But I haven't gone for that selection because it's not quite in good enough form. I know it ran very well after 2 shocking runs at the beginning of last year, only to completely put those 2 runs behind it and run a cracker. Well, that horse is top rated according to flat stats in that race, but I haven't gone for that horse. I know Matisse is also up there, but also Mucker is up there, and I think Mucker has got every chance. So I haven't placed a bet yet, but there are 6 selections. You decide what you want to do. Maybe you want to include the first few selections in a bet, then put the winnings on the later selections or returns if there are any. So it's completely up to you. So the first selection is Mooka. I've left the price in the 345 at Beverley, paying 6 places instead of 3. At Beverley, this far for me, for things to be straightforward and going on form, there's far too many Easterby horses, and that's the entire family. You've got two Mick Easterby favourites, or they were favourites at the time for races. Well, they've also got an outsider in one of the races, and also Easterby, the Timmy Easterby has got selections in there. And I'm not sure about this, but I think Richard Farley is some kind of like relation through some kind of marriage, I do believe. So there's too many variables where they must have an inkling of what can realistically win the race. But one of the Mick Easterby horses, it's all I remember from it is it's owned by the Hogarth Racing Limited or Club, and it's ridiculously well handicapped. My only problem with that horse is it's normally held up, and there's lots of fancied horses that are held up. Well, Beverley can be a very difficult course to come from behind. I'm not saying it really suits front runners, but if there's trouble, there's a good chance you can find it. So yeah, the first selection is Mooka. So the second selection is Ribble Radiant. I've left the price in the 4:15 at Beverley. Timmy Easterby is not renowned for getting 2-year-olds. However, out of the race, this is the one of the horses that is more likely to be a 2-year-old. There's so many horses that are bred for further and bred to be better with age. Don't get me wrong, this horse could be no good, but the fact that it's only 12 to 1 is quite interesting. I looked through the breeding, and to be honest, it's got every chance because the sire, I believe, was Ribchester, and I put myself on the spot now because I can't remember I think it's called Beatrix Potter, and I do believe Beatrix Potter was also the dam for Harry Angel. So there are a lot of lines for 2-year-old form. And I do think this horse, with a favourable draw, if it gets out okay and it's got a rough idea what it's doing, I think it could be prominent. It could even go straight to the front, although I do doubt it, especially with two Mark Johnson horses in the race. But I think this horse may be okay, so I think it could run a place. The third selection is Blow Your Horn in the 4:45 at Beverley, paying 4 places instead of 3. For me now, there's a number of trainers that are ridiculously good at plotting horses to win races, or big races, I say. I think George Bowie is just beginning to be one of those, but also he's been doing it for years now, and it's not Mark Prescott because he's just like these low-rated handicaps now. Ian Williams. Well, this horse has come to him. I think it's only ran 3 times this season. I think it's ran on ground that's too slow for it. It's not been bottomless, but it's now getting quicker ground. And I went back a bit, and it's ran some very good races off at 80. Well, off the top of my head, I can't remember what this race also was rated now. I think it's 70 something. It ran above itself when it was rated 80 over a year ago, and I think Ian Williams will have potted one of these bigger, more valuable races. Blow Your Horn in this bet is the nap. I think it's due to run very well because a lot of these horses, normally throughout the season, you see them like running okay. Then all of a sudden, you'll see that they've been entered in like valuable races like 25, 30 grand. And you can see that they've been aiming for it. Well, there are more races now, especially with this Super Series, where racers, they haven't got to go for the York races. They can go to like a course like your Beverleys and whatever and still pocket 15 grand. Well, I think that's what this race is, the value of this race. So I think Blow Your Horn has been targeted for this race. First time it's got quicker ground, and I think it's ridiculously well handicapped. It just needs a decent ride, and I think it's got every chance. And paying first 4, I think it's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, it's only 11 to 2. So ideally we need it to win, but I think it's got every chance. The fourth selection is Star of Lady M at 12. Sorry, not at 12 to 1. It's currently 12 to 1, but I've left the price, or I believe in the price, in the 5:15 at Beverley, paying 5 places instead of 3. Combination of David O'Meara and I believe it's Mark Wynn. Combination of them two, absolutely flying at the moment. It's top rated on flat stats, and I just think it's got every chance. I think it'll put the recent form further behind it, and I think it'll kick on. Now, David O'Meara likes a run at Beverley, especially when there's a lot of prize money knocking around. The last two, as you can see, Centre Court in the 5:45 at Beverley, paying 4 places instead of 3. Mark and Charlie Johnson's horses tend to benefit when it's quicker ground. This horse has never, I think it's encountered quicker ground twice as a 2-year-old. Now I believe it's a 3-year-old now. It's always prominent. Especially with the horse running at 7 furlongs as a 2-year-old and only stepping up to a mile as a 3-year-old. Well, the fact that it mainly ran as a 2-year-old over 7 furlong tells me it wants a lot further. And it's now stepping up 2 furlong from its last race. It has ran over 1 mile at Hamilton, and it said gradually weakened. I'm not worried at all about gradually weakened. That tells me that it got the distance, but it just it had done maybe a bit too much. And it still stayed on okay, but gradually weakened, in my opinion, is a lot better than weakened. It shows me that it made the pace, and basically it was hard to kick away from. Then finally, it just had enough. So I think this. I think you probably class it as a slightly flatter course than Hamilton Beverley. You would, but I think if it gets a relatively easy lead, I think it could make them all go. And 11-1 with 4 places, decent value. And finally, an interesting horse, Visibility, currently 22-1, but I've left the price in the 6:15 at Beverley, paying 4 places instead of 3. Well, this is the outside of the lot, and you might think, come on, Charlie, this is just an all-weather horse. Well, it could well be, but it won last time, shows it's in decent fettle. However, I went back through its runs. Well, the most recent runs have been on slower ground. Well, and it's not ran that well. But although if you go a bit further back, it's ran plenty of times on quicker ground and ran okay. So I don't think this is just an all-weather horse. And at 22-1, it's not a fantastic race, but it's quite often it's held up. So I think towards the end it could be picking horses off like 1-0. So I do think 22-1 is too big. It's definitely fit, and it's going well because it won last time. Wasn't raised that much in the way. I think it only raised about £3. So I think it's got a chance. So that bet will be something like a 10 pence each way, lucky 63, a small stake each way, single on all of them. And I'll probably go for the small stake doubles as well again. So that's the selections for Sunday. I apologise for a late video because originally I wasn't planning on putting a video out, but I think the racing's too interesting. I won't say it's fantastic, but it's definitely interesting and lots of angles for Sunday. So you can give me a like or a subscribe. We're nearly 13 minutes in now, so I apologise for that. So the very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.